And now to our exclusive report from Papua New Guinea, a country of great concern to Australia in recent years. After 12 months of negotiation, it's recently been agreed that a contingent of Australian Federal Police will be deployed to PNG to assist with the justice system there. But their task may be even harder than has been anticipated to date. In this report, Bronwyn Adcock travels to the remote Western Province for a revealing look at policing PNG style. Her investigation exposes an unholy alliance between corrupt police and a major logging company.
This is the only way to travel in the Western Province of Papua New Guinea. Incredibly remote and vast, it's the poorest and least developed province in PNG. It's also home to one of the world's great rainforests.
Come this far, we're heading for Kamusie, one way here.
This airline is owned by logging company Rimbunan Hijau PNG Limited. Related to Malaysian multinational Rimbunan Hijau, it's the biggest player in Papua New Guinea's logging industry. Today it's taking me for a close-up look at the province it virtually controls. We're landing at Kamusie, one of its largest logging camps.
This is it, this is Kamusie. You're going to meet very shortly the boss of this area.
Ling Kwok Po is the operations manager here. He's been in charge of the camp for 14 years.
Hello, welcome.
Nice to meet you.
We have two standby planes always there.
For years, critics have accused Rimbunan Hijau of damaging the environment, mistreating its workers and exploiting local communities. But Ling is at pains to point out that his company is a model corporate citizen.
So this is the school?
Yeah, this kindergarten, elementary. Yeah.
Schools, medical clinics, shops, houses, almost everything here and in most logging camps across the province was built by Rimbunan Hijau. With few exceptions, the national government has simply abdicated responsibility to the company.
All this building on this part is we built for government.
So there's no government people out there?
No, at this time nothing.
This has left large parts of Western Province in the unusual situation of having a foreign company as de facto government, and here in Kamusie, an operations manager as de facto governor.
And with regard to the landowners, one thing, they've got a lot more respect for him than their own leaders. Unfortunately, that's the perception they have. They call him as a governor of the province for the local people here. Because he's been present with them for the last 14 years. One thing you'll find around here, the presence of government institutions, zero.
The other thing lacking here is a viable police presence. When law and order breaks down, the company has to fly in police at its own expense. But just who do the police work for when they come to Kamusie? The government of PNG or Rimbunan Hijau? I've come to see a policeman who was one of those regularly flown in. He says it's the company calling the shots.
So our duties on that camp was to patrol the roads, highways, in the jungles, to make sure that the company operations were running smooth without fear or without being attacked by the local landowners. And when the landowners complained about their rights, that's where we stepped in. We stepped in on behalf of the company. national security.
Constable Emmanuel Bani is a member of an elite police unit called the Southern Command Task Force. For 7 years, his allegiance was to Rimbunan Hijau, or RH. Now, in an extraordinary move, he's breaking ranks. For his security and that of others, we can't tell you certain details about his situation, including which country he's in now.
I thought of the welfare, the safety of my family.
So you think you're safer here?
Yes, I feel that I am safe and I can do anything, I can say anything that I want to say, to the media to expose the corruption.
So you were essentially the private security of the company?
We are deployed as security guards, personal A team of the RH company. And every RH company worker in Port Moresby headquarters and any camp in the Papuan region knows us by names.
So how did the local landowners feel about you then?
They feared me a lot. They feared me and my boss and my other members. They feared us. They hated us.
They had good reason to hate Emmanuel. He and his fellow police officers were more likely to dispense justice with their fists than with the law. As a young recruit fresh out of police college, he was handpicked to join the Southern Command Task Force based in Port Moresby. He discovered how the law was enforced in Western Province in 1999, when RH took him to his first assignment.
I was woken up from my bed, had a knock on the door, and orders were given to me, saying that there was a RH bus waiting for me. I was supposed to get on that bus and taken up to the airport.
The task force was flown here, to the Panakawa veneer mill. In recent years, Rimbunan Hijau, or RH, has invested millions of dollars into this mill, and when I visited last week, there were no signs of trouble. But 5 years ago, disgruntled workers were rioting and foreign staff were being attacked. Constable Bani says the manager, who is now dead, gave orders to police on the ground.
We handled those suspects good and proper.
What do you mean?
I mean, we bashed them up, we hit them with huge irons, and when we mobilized in there, we made sure that these people who complained against the rights of their benefits were being manhandled, We built them good and proper.
So how violent? Did people get seriously injured?
Yes, some were flown to a Daru hospital. Some broke jaws, some broken hands, legs, spitting blood, deep cuts on their heads. The pain that they got was just so big. They bled,
But why are you blaming the company for your actions? I mean, aren't you the one who went in there and was violent?
I became violent because of their actions, because of their instructions.
According to Bani, it was his understanding that he and fellow officers were expected to use violence on workers and landowners. But sometimes there were explicit orders as well.
So did you take orders directly from company?
Yes, we did take orders directly from the company management too, on the ground.
Emmanuel Bani soon found that his new line of work was a profitable one, especially for a lowly paid policeman. He says whenever he was working in logging areas, the company paid him a daily allowance. On top of that, he received sporadic lump sum payments, and he names the operations manager at Kamusie as the one who paid him.
For example, Mr. Lin, he paid us appreciation money, some sort of money, which I call some sort of like bribery type of money. I've got money worth about 300, 400, 500 extra to my allowances down the campsite. And this is when I'm trying to come back to Port Moresby, and when he hands this over to me hiddenly, he gives it to me and tells me that I'll see you back next week again.
The lump sums Bani was paid varied, and it was his impression that at times the money was a reward for being violent.
And how did it make you feel towards the company when you were given that money?
I felt that I felt that the Asians respected me, you know. They had respect for me, and I felt that the police force couldn't give me this type of money, and money was my life. That was something that my family benefited out of from.
Did it make you want to do a better job for the company?
It made me feel to do anything that the management wanted me to do, the company, RH company. If instructions were given by them, when I knew that the orders were not good, you know, for the benefit of our country, I did it because I knew that I'll be paid well. You know.
Over lunch in the company dining room, I put these allegations to Ling.
Some people do say you even sometimes pay the police to do jobs for you.
No, actually, we just give them supporting for that. When they travel out, we give them by means of transportation and some assistance on the refreshment like this.
Do they ever get paid bonuses for doing jobs? Like
if they work for this beside the community job, then they are not we are not to any source of payment.
Mm-hmm. And do they ever work for the company on jobs? Do you ever request they do things?
No.
At its company headquarters on the other side of the country in Port Moresby, Rimbunan Hijau agreed to respond to the allegations raised in this program. The 3 executives I spoke to told me that the task force is only ever flown in when there's a genuine law and order issue to deal with. There is a history of violent attacks on company staff and property.
If there is situations on the ground which requires a task force assistance, of course we called in, but these requests are not often.
Do you accept that there has been a major problem with police brutality in some of the logging areas over the last 7-8 years?
I don't think so. There's been any police brutality.
None at all?
I don't think so.
RH acknowledges that an official allowance to cover incidentals is paid to visiting police. It also provides transport and logistical support, but it denies paying lump sums.
It is inconceivable that a large multinational like Rimbunan Hijau would pay large lump sum to the independent Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary to suppress and conduct police brutality against the peaceful citizens of Papua New Guinea in Western Province. That is simply inconceivable.
But he is saying that when he was working, he still is a member of Southern Command Task Force, he was paid money on many occasions by Mr. Ling, and that the company both directly and indirectly condoned the violence he perpetrated against people.
As I said earlier, the company do not condone police brutality against the peace-loving Papua New Guineans.
One of the main sources of tension in logging areas comes from landowners who won't fully cooperate with the logging company. John Denaya and Manali Kulu are landowners from near Kamusie. Today they're in Port Moresby to meet with their lawyers to discuss a legal claim over the issuing of timber permits. It's a trip they've made before. They've been complaining about both the company and police brutality for years now.
Policeman, government na kau kora ia kareeras. Nebe, ia na trawatu besere, government na trawatu mukan kini dia follow up. Oh, nebe laudi prasto.
Although they don't have the insider's view that Constable Bani does, their perception of what goes on around Kamusie is the same.
Company se be wadan, ide tan be gere, ide ula be gere. Tauni meni mana kuota ia diho, tauni meni ma egere oipe, lauke tanu be akuna. Lauke au tua kore nena, company se herwa nena, haraka lau arau totona be wadan. Ide be dia kari, egere tauni meni ma se kari totona be wadan. Polisi se be, polisi lekene pawa ide henia, ide rau nena be, ine kare ia kare. Tai Polisi tiana tara mukande kini ya fuapo nebe lauti parasto lauku dipabe nebe Mr. Rin tanu be yebe yebe 18 task force yedan 18 task force tina hanane be plain be yes CAT tina hanane be motukar kini ya pelo ini bona kare taine be nebe ID po be nebe.
At the end of my interview with John and Manali, I passed them a photo of Constable Emmanuel Bani.
Is he a member of the task force, this man?
John and Manali are coy. They don't want to say too much about Constable Bani. But there's no doubt they'd be astonished to learn that their one-time adversary is now on their side.
Do landowners have a real reason to fear that the police will get them if they speak out against the company?
Yes, of course, because they've seen it. Their children grew up and they've seen it, happening there. The father opened mouth and the mouth was being shut by a huge timber, 4x4. And otherwise the son says the same thing and it will be shot by maybe a gun barrel. So this fear has been there, and they cannot fight against the company. And so the company can do whatever it wants to do.
Emmanuel Bani says he's been considering his decision to speak out for some time. His main motivation is personal. He too is a landowner in Western Province, and RH will soon begin operations on his ancestral lands. He doesn't want what happened to the people around Kamusie to happen to his people.
My own land is going to be under threat. My own land, I don't like RH to get in there because they have shown bad practices, bad pictures when I was with them.
I took Constable Bani's story to the RH executives, but Rimbunan Hijau insists it has a good relationship with landowners in the logging area.
Well, I've actually interviewed a member of Southern Command Task Force, and he worked for the task force since 1999. And he says, quote, that RH used the police to drive fear into landowners.
Well, we deny this allegation. They are unsubstantiated. I think the police has many times investigated this in recent years, and it's also been published in the local paper that all these allegations are unsubstantiated.
So do you deny having any knowledge of police violence in the area?
We are saying I'm not saying that we don't have any knowledge. We are saying that we do not condone or encourage police brutality against the peace-loving people of Western Province.
The Southern Command Task Force is a small unit with its own hierarchy. It's ultimately answerable to the Southern Command Division of the PNG Police. John Maru is in charge of Southern Command. He says he's conducted a thorough investigation into allegations of police brutality.
So do you accept that there has been a problem at all with police brutality in some of the logging areas?
I think it is a lot of utter rubbish. That is not the case that I know of.
What about the allegation that the Southern Command Task Force essentially acts on behalf of RH company out in Kamusie? Have you investigated that?
That is again utter bullshit. It does not serve the purpose of the company. Emmanuel Bani, maybe, I don't know, he's got his own reasons to state what he says. I will also, at this point in time, would like to deny categorically that policemen are not on the payroll of the Rimbunan Hijau logging company. Never. They are never on the payroll.
He said that at times he was incredibly violent, broke people's jaws, either because the company either directly asked him to or indirectly.
I don't think he would have been guided by the company to do anything of that sort. He knows in himself that he is a trained and basically qualified policeman. Doing such things, again, of course, is against the law.
On a guided tour of Kamusie by the company, we found evidence that police brutality does occur. We're introduced to Dr. Willie Bellarosa, who runs the clinic in Kamusie.
Hi, how are you?
Hello, fine.
So the doctor here?
Yeah, I'm Dr. Willie.
Rimbunan Hijau, SBS TV. Do you ever see any cases that look like people have been bashed up by police?
Yeah, what? Bash up by, what do you mean?
Police. Beaten by police. Assaulted by police.
Yes.
Very often or not often? Or?
Sometimes often, sometimes not. But now I think, when was the last time? This month, do we have any? Last month. I think this month I haven't encountered any. I think last month we do have some.
Earlier this year, a forestry review team set up by the PNG government travelled to Western Province to look at logging areas. It was interested in all aspects of logging, but found particular problems with police activity in a number of camps. Dateline has obtained a copy of their draft report into the Rimbunan Hijau logging site of Wawigwavi, where Kamusie is. It says,
the use of physical force by the police task force to intimidate employees and landowners was one of the major issues raised by all members of the community. The people most certainly welcomed the presence of police in the area, but not in the manner they were behaving and under the total control of the company.
At one camp, the review team spoke to landowners who
claimed that any agreement they signed for the land to be used freely by the company was signed under duress in the presence of the police force.
Rimbunan Hijau rejects the findings in this draft report. Although the final report is yet to be signed off on, the draft has been circulated and the government has already acted.
Yes, we have commenced action on the reports. Firstly is the police. We've asked that I've requested the police commissioner to withdraw the task force, which he has done. And we're monitoring the situation on the ground very closely to make sure that policemen in logging camps are not there for too long. We rotate them because the longer you keep them there, they become too friendly to the operating company.
The man ultimately in charge of the Southern Command Task Force, John Maru, denies his men collaborate with the company and is clearly disgruntled by this decision.
So why did the police commissioner order you to take the Southern Command Task Force out of Kamusie?
I don't know, I told you before. No answer was given, no reason.
But clearly he thought that there was a problem with the Southern Command Task Force.
I can't suggest that. It's best you interview him, he will tell you why he directed that.
Despite the withdrawal order, Constable Emmanuel Bani has told Dateline that some members of the task force are still going into the area.
Do you feel a bit like you've made some really foolish decisions in the last 7 years?
Of course.
Do you feel regret?
Yes, I regret. I feel sorry for my people, you know. I apologize for what I've done, but I followed orders. I followed orders because I wanted my bread and butter like any other employee, you know.
The money was obviously incredibly important to you.
It was very important. It was very important to me.
Is that the only reason you did all this?
It was because of the. It wasn't the only reason. It was because of the orders that was given. You know, the relationship between the company and the bosses, the superiors that I have, was very tight. You know, very close. And if I didn't execute what the company wants, they will complain to my bosses.
Thank you very much for that.
Welcome. You're always welcome.
Constable Emmanuel Bani believes that the work he did for Rimbunan Hijau held sway with his bosses in Port Moresby.
So do you think Southern Command Task Force does a good job?
Yeah, they are doing a very good job. Very good job.
Dateline has recently obtained a copy of a letter written by RH Operations Manager Ling Kwok Po. It concerns Constable Bani. It's written to Bani's overall boss, John Maru, and CC'd to the Commissioner of Police. It commends Bani for his work in an intelligence operation in Western Province, for which Rimbunan Hijau provided logistical support. The letter recommends
Emmanuel Bani for immediate promotion at your discretion whenever convenient. Strongly recommended. Your favourable consideration and action shall highly be appreciated.
Constable Emmanuel Bani no longer expects he'll receive any promotion.
Once this interview is broadcast, do you expect that you will be able to return to Papua New Guinea?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I will return back to Papua New Guinea that soon. It will take me a couple of years before I get back to Papua New Guinea, because this is very fresh.
Filmed and reported by Bronwyn Adcock, and that story has already created something of a stir in PNG. As she tried to leave the country, her passport was confiscated and she was questioned by police about this story. Despite today's claims by the PNG government, Bronwyn entered PNG on a legitimate journalist visa. And that's our show for tonight. You can catch a repeat of tonight's show tomorrow. That's Thursday at 1 p.m. We'll be off air next week because SBS will be broadcasting the IF Awards. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time for the next edition of Dateline. Until then, good night.